Hello, all you freedom-loving people. Welcome to another episode of Front Page International. I'm your host, Scott Cameron Goulet. More than 6 dozen Illinois sheriffs vowed to defy the gun control ban that was trying to ban the sale and distribution of what they call assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, but the state of Illinois will not be able to enforce the ban. Joe Manchin and the Republicans are standing up against the Biden administration's new rule that allows retirement plan managers to invest in ESG funds, which generally invest in companies that oppose fossil fuels. Jordan Peterson, the Canadian psychology professor and public speaker, is also taking huge steps to push back against the powers that be by proposing the establishment of an organization to counter the World Economic Forum. After the MSNBC host was unable to work for the past month, it turns out it was because of pericarditis and myocarditis. Following battle tanks being offered to Ukraine, now countries are offering jets. Meanwhile, Israel used only small drones to strike at Iran. But did the small drones fly hundreds of miles, or were they controlled from the ground within Iran? Okay, let's get into it. The state of Illinois lost its appeal after a lower court judge ruled that the ban on some semi-automatic rifles and high-capacity magazines that was enacted this year could not be enforced. On January 10th, Illinois Governor Pritzker signed a gun control bill trying to ban the sale and distribution of what he calls assault weapons, high-capacity magazines, and switches. Right after the new law tried to take effect, more than 6 dozen Illinois sheriffs vowed to defy the gun control ban. On January 15th, the Illinois Sheriff's Association released a statement saying that it has opposed the bill since its inception. The association said, "We, as a representative of chief law enforcement officials throughout Illinois, are very concerned and disturbed by the ongoing and escalating violence throughout our state and country." Richland County Sheriff Andrew R. Hires, who is from one of the 102 sheriff's offices in Illinois, said in a Facebook post that the right to keep and bear arms for defense of life, liberty, and property is regarded as an inalienable right by the people. Later, on January 24th, Effingham County Judge Joshua Morrison issued a temporary restraining order preventing the enforcement of the law. The ruling came in response to a lawsuit that was filed by 4 gun merchants and by 850 individuals claiming that the law was enacted improperly and that it had no proper public input. According to the plaintiffs, the law violated the Equal Protection Clause of the state and the U.S. Constitutions by providing exemptions for certain groups based on their occupation or training. Morrison said in his ruling that the plaintiffs are being immediately and irreparably harmed each day in which their fundamental right to bear arms is being denied. And now, following an appeal from Illinois Attorney General Quayne Raoul, Illinois' 5th District Appellate Court ruled on Tuesday that the temporary restraining order can remain in place as well as be extended to the entire state. Prior to this order, only plaintiffs were protected by the temporary restraining order. Based on the ruling, the plaintiffs had a likelihood of success on the merits with regard to their claim that the law violates the state and United States Constitution's Equal Protection Clause. In addition, Illinois is facing several other lawsuits that are challenging the law. This includes one lawsuit from the National Rifle Association, the NRA. Jason Ouimet, the executive director of the NRA Institute for Legislative Action, stated that the law is unconstitutional. The Republican senators and Democrat Joe Manchin are introducing legislation to end the Biden administration's new Environment, Social, and Governance (ESG) rule, which they claim politicizes retirement savings. The retirement savings affect 152 million workers, or 2/3 of the U.S. population, totaling $12 trillion in assets. Department of Labor officials issued a rule in November that went into effect on January 30th. The new rule allows retirement plan managers to take environmental and social concerns into account when making investment decisions. ESG funds generally invest in companies that oppose fossil fuels, support unionization, and that stress gender and racial diversity over merit, even if it results in a lower return for the client. In the Senate, Senator Mike Braun has introduced a bipartisan disapproval resolution, and Representative Andy Barr will introduce a companion bill in the House. By passing the resolution, Congress will be able to overrule the administration. Braun said President Biden is jeopardizing retirement savings for millions of Americans for a political agenda. A Braun's aide said that the resolution will receive a vote in the Senate and the House floor in the coming weeks. In order to pass and be sent to Biden, the resolution will only need a simple majority, with at least one more Democrat supporting it in the Senate. A group of 25 states last week also filed a federal lawsuit against the Biden administration over the rule. In the lawsuit, the plaintiffs believe that the rule puts at risk the retirement savings in the name of promoting the Biden administration's climate agenda, and it violates the Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974. Recently, MSNBC anchor Yasmin Vesuvian revealed that she missed about a month of work due to heart inflammation last December. It all started on December 20th when she began experiencing chest pains over a period of 10 days. The pains continued to get worse over the next few days. The anchor went to urgent care on December 30th and she was diagnosed with acid reflux. She woke up the next morning with severe chest pains and with left shoulder pain, leading her to believe that she was having a heart attack. Upon further testing, the doctors discovered that she had pericarditis, which is an inflammation of the heart lining. Initially, doctors claimed that a literal common cold caused the attack. After spending several days in the hospital, she was released. But that was not the end. She said, 3 days later, I was readmitted when I felt a flutter in my heart like a butterfly. She then spent another 5 days in the hospital as the doctors told her that she developed myocarditis, which is inflammation of the heart muscle. Vesuvian then said, it was just the cold that was doing it, all the inflammation in and around my heart. Several social media users speculated that her pericarditis and myocarditis may have been caused by a COVID-19 vaccine. According to the Food and Drug Administration and to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, pericarditis and myocarditis are both side effects of mRNA vaccines that are manufactured by Pfizer and Moderna. But the MSNBC host made no mention of COVID-19 or vaccines. Meanwhile, Johns Hopkins University reports that if you have the common cold, influenza, or COVID-19, you might suffer from myocarditis. Later, the MSNBC host interviewed her physician, Dr. Greg Katz, a cardiologist at NYU Langone Hospital. Katz claimed, could be that the season is more virus heavy. Maybe our immune systems are different because we've been masking and social distancing. He added that nobody knows why this is. Jordan Peterson, the Canadian psychology professor and public speaker, revealed the establishment of an international consortium that would provide a pro-human alternative to the globalist corporatist World Economic Forum, the WEF. It will counter globalist narratives and aims. Peterson discussed this plan on Joe Rogan's podcast, saying that the first event of the group will take place in London in October or November of 2023. He went into more details and explained that around 2,000 businesses, as well as cultural and political figures, will be invited to participate in the organization. Ideally, the discussions will be open to the public and that the membership will be as broad as possible. This would be comparable to the recent WEF meeting in Davos, Switzerland, which attracted around 2,700 international leaders, Wall Street executives, central bankers, and celebrities. Peterson said that one of the main objectives will be to provide an alternative vision of the future, an alternative to that kind of apocalyptic narrative that's being put forward, at least implicitly, by organizations like the WEF. The WEF has been criticized for using scare tactics and for painting a bleak picture of the future in order to justify its agenda, such as the Great Reset. A controversial slogan that's associated with the Great Reset is, "You'll have nothing and you'll be happy," preferably said like Klaus Schwab would say it. However, instead of the WEF's apocalyptic narrative, the organization intends to put forward a vision that's enticing and inviting. He said, "Imagine you can have the world you want. In such a world, the main focus will be on how to get energy and resources at the lowest possible cost, as rapidly as possible to the largest number of people around the world." At the same time, he presented a vision on the family to facilitate the encouragement of and the maintenance of long-term monogamous couples who are child-centered. And he emphasized that this will be a place to discover our story, specifically as it relates to voluntary play rather than power. Before we move on, I want to say that while the events for President Trump's 2024 campaign have officially begun, nobody knows who he will pick as his running mate. However, recently Steve Bannon, President Trump's former advisor, had disclosed a potential name, and we have discussed the details in a short video on our new social platform, Ganjing World. I'll leave the link in the description below. Please watch it there. Okay, let's get back into it. After almost a year of fighting against Russian invading forces, Ukraine won support from Baltic nations and Poland in its quest to obtain Western fighter jets. But there were no signs that larger nations like the United States will follow. Alexei Reznikov, Ukraine's defense minister, said that he and his French counterpart didn't discuss specific fighter jets, but they discussed platforms to assist Ukraine's ground-to-air defense. In a conversation with Reznikov, French Defense Minister Sébastien Lecornu said that there are no taboos on sending fighter jets. He also confirmed that France will send 12 more Caesar cannons in the next few weeks. In a statement on Monday, French President Emmanuel Macron said that France does not exclude sending fighter jets, but France did set out conditions for such a move. The conditions include that it will not lead to escalations of tensions, nor that it will be used to touch Russian soil, nor that it will weaken the French military. The UK government, which is a key supplier of military equipment to Kiev, said that sending fighter jets is not practical. When he was asked on Monday if his administration was considering sending F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine, Biden actually said no. Reznikov was asked on Tuesday if Biden's no to F-16s was final. He answered, "All types of help first pass through the no stage." He added, "which only means no at today's given moment. The second stage is, let's talk and study technical possibilities. The third stage is, let's get your personnel trained. And the fourth stage is the transfer of equipment." Reznikov said Ukraine went through those stages before it got high mobility artillery rocket systems, or HIMARS. Over the weekend, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz seemed hesitant to provide fighter jets, hinting that some countries have domestic political motives for wanting fighter jets. In a statement, Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte said, "There are no taboos in aiding Ukraine." He added that jets would be a very big next step. In response to Western weapon supplies to Ukraine, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov stressed that NATO long has been directly involved in a hybrid war against Russia. Over the weekend, drones loaded with bombs targeted a military factory at the heart of the central Iranian city Isfahan. This caused a large explosion and minor damage to the material and energy laboratory. The Iranian Defense Ministry said that there were 3 drones launched at the facility, 2 of which were shot down. There was another drone that apparently made it to the building, damaging the roof, but it did not injure anyone. Mikhailo Podolyak, who is an advisor to Ukraine's President Zelensky, commented about the drone attacks. He said that it was an explosive night in Iran drone and missile production oil refineries. Being unsatisfied with Iran's continued provision of drones and arms to Moscow, he wrote, "Ukraine did warn you." Podolyak added, "War logic is inexorable and murderous. It bills the authors and accomplices strictly." He added, "Panic in the Russian Federation, endless mobilization, missile defense in Moscow, trenches 1,000 kilometers away, bomb shelter preparation." Meanwhile, the Wall Street Journal confirmed in an exclusive report that Israel did attack the Iranian Military Research and Development Center with drones. However, small or quadcopter drones cannot fly hundreds of kilometers to reach central Iran. This means that the operators were on the ground in Iran if the attack was carried out with small drones. Since July of 2020, Israel has begun targeting Iranian nuclear and sensitive targets through sabotage operations, often with devastating results. Therefore, it is assumed that it was agents from within Iran who carried out the recent strike. Last week, the Wall Street Journal also quoted Israel's top general saying that Israel and the United States were preparing for the worst. Okay, that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember that every like, comment, and share helps more people to see the truth. We've also heard from many of our viewers that they don't get notifications of our videos anymore from YouTube. So please follow us on Telegram, Gab, Getter, True Social, and on Ganjing World for the latest updates. We'll leave the links in the description below. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, please don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family because everybody deserves to know the truth. Again, thank you for watching Front Page, and we will see you next time.